Welcome everyone to EdTech Spark. Hope you're all doing great. We've got a packed show today, diving deep into some really interesting stuff happening in the world of educational technology. So let's get right to it, shall we?
Hey everyone, glad to be here, ready to unpack all things EdTech. It's a constantly evolving field, and I'm always curious to see what's new and what's actually making a difference. So let's see what's cooking.
Absolutely. And something that's been on my mind a lot lately is this whole issue of teacher burnout and how EdTech can either contribute to it or ideally alleviate it. I stumbled across this blog post from HEPI, that's the Higher Education Policy Institute, by Rod Bristow, and it really got me thinking.
Oh yeah, I saw that one too. The one talking about moving beyond hype and fluff. It's a good reminder, especially now with all the AI noise.
Exactly. He points out that EdTech venture capital is at its lowest since 2015, which honestly might be a good thing. It feels like the hype bubble has burst, and now we're hopefully moving towards a more sustainable, results-oriented approach. He was talking about how investors are now seeking fundamentals over fluff, and that details and evidence of impact or efficacy matter.
Some of that resonates. I think for a while, there was this gold rush mentality where everyone was throwing money at anything that called itself EdTech without really questioning if it was actually improving learning outcomes or just adding to the noise. That's something I've seen in schools too, admins wanting to jump to the next best thing. Now things are slowing down a bit.
Right, and he nails it when he says investors and entrepreneurs need to ask the question, does it work? Before considering how it scales. It's such a simple question, but it's so often overlooked. We get caught up in the potential, the shiny new features, without actually proving that it's effective in the classroom.
And that's where the teacher burnout piece comes in, right? Because if you're throwing all these new tools at teachers without proper training, without evidence that they actually save time or improve student learning, you're just adding to their workload and their stress. It just feels like another mandate they have to implement.
Totally. Bristow argues that one of the biggest barriers to scale is the complexity of implementation with teachers. He points out that products marketed directly to consumers often struggle to show as much impact because they bypass teachers altogether. And it makes sense, right? Teachers are the ones on the ground. They know what works for their students. They understand the nuances of the classroom.
Absolutely. And they have their own teaching styles and preferences too. Ed tech needs to be flexible enough to adapt to that, not the other way around. I keep thinking about how tech should facilitate stimulating and productive hard work, not make learning easy.
Yes, exactly. It's about empowering teachers, not replacing them. And that's where the potential of AI comes in, I think. Bristow says AI has the potential to solve real problems like widening access to learning, saving time for teachers, and engaging learners through adaptive assessments. But he also warns about the risk of overselling its benefits.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can AI truly deliver on its promises in education, or is it just another overhyped technology that will ultimately disappoint? I'm still on the fence. I think there are definitely areas where it could be helpful, but I also see a lot of potential for misuse and unintended consequences. And I think the idea that AI will undermine learning if high-stakes assessments don't adapt is spot on. It forces educators to adapt, but the core learning might be lost.
I hear you. I think the key is to focus on using AI to automate those tedious, time-consuming tasks that teachers hate, like grading papers or creating basic lesson plans. If AI can free up their time for more meaningful interactions with students, for personalized instruction and creative activities, then it becomes a real game changer.
That makes sense. It's about using technology to enhance the human element of teaching, not replace it. But even then, you need to be careful. There's a risk of AI creating biased or inaccurate content, or of students becoming overly reliant on it and not developing their own critical thinking skills.
That's a valid point. I think it's crucial to teach students how to critically evaluate AI-generated content to understand its limitations and potential biases. It's about fostering digital literacy, not just blindly accepting whatever AI spits out. What do you think?
I totally agree. We need to equip students with the skills to be discerning consumers of information, regardless of whether it's coming from a textbook or an AI chatbot. I think a lot of the discussion should be around responsible digital literacy, but it seems like we've got to make sure teachers have it too, first.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the teacher burnout piece, I think ed tech companies have a responsibility to provide adequate training and support to teachers on how to use their tools effectively. It's not enough to just sell them the software. They need to be shown how it can actually make their lives easier and improve student outcomes. I am not a fan of software companies just selling a product and leaving the rest to the teacher.
Right? And that training needs to be ongoing, not just a one time thing. Technology is constantly evolving, so teachers need to stay up to date on the latest features and best practices. And they need to have a voice in the development process too. They should be able to provide feedback on what's working and what's not, so that EdTech tools can be continuously improved to meet their needs.
That's a great point. It's about creating a collaborative relationship between ed tech developers and teachers where both parties are working together to improve the learning experience. It's interesting how Bristow concludes his piece. He talks about the potential for technology to unlock wider access to lifelong learning. He says widening access to lifelong learning could deliver a greater transformation to the economy and society than we have seen in 100 years. That's a pretty bold statement, but I think he's right.
Yeah, the potential for EdTech to democratize education and make it more accessible to everyone is huge. I also feel like AI will change not only how people learn, but what people need to learn. I think it will be an interesting change to watch.
Right. And I saw this article about the Acer Chromebook Plus 515, and it highlights how AI features can be valuable tools for productivity and learning. Things like text generation, live video/audio captioning, and basic image editing. It's cool to see how these features are being integrated into devices that are specifically designed for education.
Chromebooks are becoming increasingly popular in schools because they're affordable and easy to manage. But I think it's important to remember that technology is just a tool, and it's only as effective as the way it's used. Just giving every student a Chromebook doesn't automatically improve their learning outcomes. You need to have a clear plan for how the technology will be integrated into the curriculum and how teachers will be trained to use it effectively.
Agreed. It's about thoughtful implementation, not just blindly adopting the latest technology. And I think it's also important to consider the potential downsides of relying too heavily on technology in the classroom. Things like eye strain, distractions, and the loss of social interaction.
Exactly. There needs to be a balance. Technology can be a powerful tool, but it shouldn't replace traditional teaching methods altogether. There's still a lot of value in face to face interactions, hands on activities, and real world experiences.
Speaking of real world experiences, I saw this article about Hedgehog Financial Wellness winning the AWS EdTech Accelerator. They're focusing on financial literacy for young people, which I think is so important. They're using interactive workshops to teach students about things like budgeting, saving, and investing. It's exactly the kind of innovative approach that can equalize opportunities in education.
Oh, that's fantastic. Financial literacy is such a critical life skill, and it's often overlooked in traditional education. I love that they're taking a practical, hands on approach rather than just lecturing students about financial concepts. I really admire their evidence based approach.
Yeah, and they're addressing the specific problem of financial disinformation online, which is a huge issue these days. There's so much misinformation out there, especially on social media, and young people are particularly vulnerable to it.
Definitely. It's great to see an edtech company tackling that problem head on. It highlights the potential for technology to be used for good, to empower people with the knowledge and skills they need to make informed decisions. That's what a lot of edtech seem to be missing.
Right. And it's not just about financial literacy. There are so many other areas where ed tech can make a real difference, from language learning to STEM education to career development.
Yeah, I think the key is to identify the specific problems that need to be solved and then use technology to create targeted solutions. It's not about technology for technology's sake, it's about using technology to address real needs and improve people's lives, like medicine and the USM. LE Step 2. Seems like EdTech is really changing things.
Oh, tell me more about that. What's happening with ed tech and medical exams?
Well, I read an article about how online platforms are revolutionizing USM. LE Step 2 prep. It talks about how medical students are now using things like AI driven study plans, high yield video lectures, and simulated exam environments to prepare for the exam. It's a far cry from the days of just reading textbooks and attending lectures.
That's fascinating. So, how is AI being used in these study plans?
Basically, the AI analyzes a student's strengths and weaknesses and then creates a personalized study plan that focuses on their areas of need. So, if a student is struggling with cardiology, the system will prioritize related content, ensuring they're not wasting time on things they already know.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having a personalized tutor that's available 24/7. So I see that Lecturio does something like that with adaptive learning technology. I think it's interesting that now students can track performance across practice questions and video lessons.
Exactly. And the video lectures are a big improvement over traditional lectures too. They're more engaging, more concise, and they break down complex topics into digestible chunks. Plus, they're often taught by board-certified physicians, so students are learning from experts.
Hmm. And the simulated exam environments must be incredibly helpful for reducing test anxiety. It's like practicing free throws before the big game, you know? Getting comfortable with the format and the timing can make a huge difference.
Definitely, it's not just about knowing the material, it's about being able to perform under pressure. These online platforms give students the opportunity to practice under realistic exam conditions so they can build the stamina and mental agility they need to succeed. Plus, I saw a little about how medicine is a team sport and learning apps are making study groups easier now.
That's a great point. Collaborative learning is so valuable, and EdTech can make it easier for students to connect with each other, share ideas, and support each other. It breaks down those geographical barriers and allows students from all over the world to learn together.
Yeah, and the on-demand access is a game changer for medical students who are notoriously busy and have chaotic schedules. They can review videos, tackle practice questions, or listen to audio summaries whenever and wherever they have a few minutes to spare. It's all about making learning more flexible and convenient.
Right. It's about meeting students where they are rather than forcing them to conform to a rigid schedule. And that's something that EdTech can do really well. You know, I also want to touch on this EdTech show and tell from IST Live 2025. There were some interesting products showcased there.
Oh yeah, I saw that. The one with the detachable 4K camera?
Yeah, the Avocora series. It's interesting how they're focusing on high quality video for collaboration and communication. And the handwriting recognition feature is pretty cool too. It allows users to write naturally in whiteboarding mode and then instantly convert it to text.
Mm-hmm. I'm always a bit skeptical of those features, though. Handwriting recognition can be hit or miss depending on the person's handwriting, but I can see how it could be useful for brainstorming and note taking. But maybe my handwriting is too messy.
Aha, fair enough. I think it's one of those things that will continue to improve over time. But one thing that really caught my eye was the Solaris Cyber System. It's a signal blocking pouch designed to reduce distractions while keeping phones safely accessible for emergencies.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's basically a Faraday cage for your phone. It blocks all incoming and outgoing signals.
Yeah, exactly. It's designed to help students focus in the classroom by eliminating distractions from their phones. But it also allows them to keep their phones nearby in case of an emergency.
I can see the appeal of that, especially in today's world. Phones can be such a huge distraction in the classroom, but it's also important for students to have access to them in case of an emergency. It is a balancing act for sure, but I would never have thought of this kind of technology. It seems like a good way to address that tension, but I do wonder if it would actually be effective in practice. Would students actually use it? Would teachers be able to enforce its use?
Those are valid questions. I think it would depend on the school culture and the teacher's approach. If presented as a tool to help students succeed rather than a punishment, it might be more effective.
Yeah, framing is everything. Another product that caught my eye was the Edlio Community Analytics Dashboard. It's designed to help schools foster stronger engagement with families and communities by monitoring communication success and identifying contact gaps.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's basically a data analytics tool for school communication.
Yeah, it helps schools track things like deliverability rates, engagement levels, and preferred communication channels. It can also help them identify families who aren't receiving important information and then take steps to reach out to them directly. I think this is a huge leap from schools sending emails with no idea who actually got them.
That's really valuable. Communication is so critical for student success, and it's often a challenge for schools to effectively reach all families, especially those who are underserved or have limited English proficiency. I am so glad that it includes multilingual support.
Exactly. And this tool can help schools ensure that everyone is on the same page and that families are actively involved in their children's education. I would love to see this technology become normal.
Definitely, it's about building stronger partnerships between schools and families, which is essential for creating a supportive learning environment. So, what are your overall thoughts on the current state of EdTech? Are you optimistic about the future?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there's a lot of potential for technology to improve education, but I also think it's important to be realistic about its limitations. We need to avoid the hype and focus on using technology in a thoughtful, evidence-based way. Like I said, does it work and why?
I agree. It's about striking a balance between innovation and practicality, between excitement and skepticism. We need to be willing to experiment with new technologies, but we also need to be critical and discerning about what actually works. And we need to always keep the focus on the students and their learning needs.
Right? And we need to remember that technology is just a tool, and it's only as effective as the people who are using it. Teachers are the key to successful EdTech implementation, so we need to make sure they have the training, support, and resources they need to use these tools effectively. I think we are on the right track.
Well said. It's been a great conversation. Thanks for sharing your insights and perspectives. And thanks to all of you for listening. Until next time, keep sparking those EdTech ideas.
Thanks for having me. It was a great discussion. And remember, everyone, be critical, be thoughtful, and keep learning. See ya.